Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meta Cafe. I'm your host, Janet Hickox, and we are here to talk about astrology, human design, and I actually pulled an oracle card today. And those of you out there who are in Facebook, please tickle me a little bit if I forget to show you the oracle card because it's important. But there's so much going on that we really need to dig in this morning. Good morning, Suzanne. It's good to see you out there. I've missed you all, but I swear I've been in some kind of, I don't know, time warp, some awesome things happening in my life. I'm hoping that if you're someone who emailed me over the last couple of days, that you will be patient while I wade my way back through all of that information that's come into me over the last few days. As you know, I had a baby grandson born on Friday. And good morning, Mimi. Good to see you out there. He was going to be born by induction because he was getting big, and they were worried because of gestational diabetes in the mother. So he was being, or she was being induced on Wednesday evening. So about 7 o'clock, I think they started her induction on Wednesday. So Thursday, I fully anticipated, because this was her third baby, that things were going to go well and that he was going to be born. So I spent the day on Thursday. Good morning, Roseanne. Good morning, everybody out there who I've missed. So Thursday, I spent the day in the hospital fully expecting that something was going to happen. Nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. She progresses along a very little bit. And then, as you know, on Friday, I was going to be in Seattle all day with my granddaughter and her mother, Heather. So Heather's my daughter, Mackenzie's my granddaughter, and we were doing her photo shoot for pictures that her agent needs in order to continue with her modeling career. So I was, again, whisked away into this world that I had no idea what happens behind the scenes of a modeling shoot. It was absolutely crazy. I actually got to be involved, but along with her mom in holding up the backgrounds and things like that. But it was a very long day. I thought we were going to be there 2 or 3 hours, but we got there, I guess it was about 11:30, and we didn't leave there until 8:30. In the meantime, checking my phone every 10 minutes, waiting for this baby to come. Finally, at 5:05 p.m. on Friday, he was born. And he is an absolute moose baby. He was 9 pounds, 10 ounces, as adorable as can be, healthy as can be. Mama's doing well. My son, who is the father, is doing well as well. He is in love with his new baby, and it's something to be said. There's something I think that happens for grandparents, or maybe it's just me because I'm weird that way. As I sit back and I look back over this family, and I just keep looking at my husband and going, we started all this, right? I just keep looking at him going, we started all this. There's this feeling of being this matriarch that I never, ever expected to feel in my life. When you watch your 4 kids go on to have their kids, and you see this family almost growing exponentially over time. And I mean, it just goes to the heart of who I am, is all about family. And so I can't wait to see how this little character grows and changes through his life. And of course, as a good astrologer, I came home. Let's see, I don't even know what day I came home. Saturday, I guess. And I immediately did his astrology. And he's an interesting little being, very determined and very deliberate, but also extraordinarily psychic. He was born with the sun and the moon, of course, in Pisces in a conjunction with Neptune not far behind them. And it was extraordinary to see how much psychic energy there is in this very deliberate person. And good morning, Michelle. And good morning, somebody else I just missed. I'm sorry who I missed, but thank you for joining me this morning. So I am full. My heart is full. My life is full. And just when I thought it was going to calm down, my oldest daughter, Heather, ended up in the hospital yesterday. Did you know? This is Jupiter at her best, right? Retrograde, but also causing some things to get overblown. Did you know that if you work out too much and then you get dehydrated afterwards, that you can end up with something called, I think it's rhabdomyolysis or something to that effect. And you get very ill, and it can create an issue where you get kidney failure, liver going wacko. And that's exactly what happened to her. Thursday, she was in a very big workout with the big muscles. So the quads, I guess, the ones in your thighs and the core muscles, right? And then she was really in pain on Friday when we were at the photo shoot. Like every time she moved, her muscles were screaming at her. But what happened was that whole day, not one of us realized how long of a day it was going to be, right? We left our water in the car, and we left all the little snacks or foods that we brought in the car, which in Seattle was down like 2 or 3 blocks from the place that we were at. And all of us were dehydrated by the end of the day. So she ends up with this perfect storm of these enzymes flooding her system and not being able to get washed out. And so she was getting Mackenzie ready to go to a volleyball tournament yesterday. And she started getting faint and dizzy. And she said, I just didn't feel right. So she kind of turned the left instead of the right and went on to the hospital. And when the doctor came in and said that he's like, your enzymes are so high. They're supposed to be like at 100 and hers were like at 5,000. And he's like, did you do a heavy workout or something recently? And she and I just looked at one another and just started cracking up because she was so sore. She couldn't even bend over to pick anything up on Friday. So craziness, right? So my whole last 5 days has been surreal, crazy, heart-centered. It's just been crazy. So if you haven't gotten an email back from me, or if I haven't answered you, that would be the reason, right? So let's turn to the astrology, because the only astrology I really did over the weekend was looking at little Wyatt's. His name is Wyatt Hunter Hickox, by the way. And he's the only astrology that I actually did for the weekend. So let's take a look here. So today we have, this is kind of an interesting week lining up. Remember last week I told you we had sort of this energy of conflict and chaos and turbulence. It was kind of a crazy week. And this week is an interesting week because the potential for the week is like way up here. The reality at this moment is way down here. You just need to elevate the energy just a little bit. And, I didn't have much time to listen to news. Like, I didn't realize this, but there were bombings going off in Austin, where I have a really good friend that lives. And so I had no clue. I had no clue what was happening. And then, of course, in the Twitterverse, there's all of the stuff going on, that Trump is always putting us through. Well, so I was kind of thankfully out of that. But when I started looking at the astrology this morning, and of course, hearing the news in the morning, I was like, wow, so fascinating today. So we're going to start with human design, by the way. In human design, every quarter, let's call it, which happens just about the turning point of the seasons, there is a gate that comes into play called a gate of love. So there are 4 gates of love. They're gate 10, gate 46, gate 25, and gate 15. So when we get to the gates of love, it elevates us to the next level of love energy. So today is the day that we are turning that quarter. Like if you had a little clock and you turned it each quarter, it's very much like, in Wicca and the pagan times where they celebrated cross quarters and the quarters of the year. Well, this is a turning of the quarter of the year. So this particular quarter takes us to gate 25 with the sun, and that's the gate of universal love. And then gate 46, its companion, which is where the earth is sitting, is the gate that really takes us to the physical embodiment of love. And so I don't mean that sexually at all. This is just the feeling of love that we have when we're in our body and our senses come alive with smells and touches and just, the love that you feel when you're touching something, holding a baby, that invokes that earthly, physical sort of love. And then the Venus-Mercury conjunction, well, sorry, let's not talk about that one yet. That one's even more interesting. Mars over the weekend moved out of Sagittarius and into Capricorn. So we also have Saturn in Capricorn. We also have the Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn, and we also have Pluto in Capricorn. So Mars is joining the gang in Capricorn, and those early degrees of Capricorn are another gate of love. And this is the gate that is the love of humanity. It's really very, that one's the love of self. And the love of self is a very important component, right? We think of the love of self sometimes as being vain or having, being overly self-centered or selfish, but it really isn't. The love of self is so important to the bigger picture, because if you don't have love for yourself, how do you even love someone else, right? That's the way I always think about it. So loving yourself is maybe the most important thing that you can take away here. So we have Mars energy entering into a love gate, taking action upon and dynamically connecting with the love of self. So it's really very interesting. In the lower expression, remember last week I gave you the lower expressions of all these gates, right? The lower expression of these gates are interesting to note. Gate 25, universal love in its highest, is constriction in its lowest. The earth in gate 46, which is ecstasy in its highest, is seriousness in its lowest expression. And gate 10 is self-obsession in its lowest form. Highest form is beingness, being, right? Human being. And self-obsession. So I start looking, as I'm thinking about all the tweets and stuff going on, it seems like there's a lot of self-obsession. First of all, our president is as narcissistic as they come. And so he really is the embodiment of the lower form of this energy for us all right now. And before you think that I'm picking on him, and I know you guys don't really think that, but remember that if we're seeing that out there in our outer world, we have to go, why am I seeing that in my outer world? What does it mean for me? Where am I self-obsessive, right? Where am I so egocentric that I can't see how my life is affecting other people's lives? And good morning, Petra. Thank you very much. Good to see you with us this morning. So taking all of this energy in again is about looking inward. Jupiter is in retrograde. Mercury's going retrograde this week. So we have this inward looking focus. And here's what I find interesting about gate 10, which is where Mars is. Gate 10 in human design is always called a red flag gate. And it's called a red flag gate because it's a gate that sits on the identity center, the G center, let's see, do I have somebody's chart here? Yes, I do. So ignore the person's information up here. But you see the identity center is this yellow diamond. So gate 10 comes off the edge right here, right? And gate 10 is a gate that really can empower people. Like from the beauty that you feel around yourself, you take that beauty and you exude it, and you invite others in to be self-loving. In its lowest form, it can become a gate that we lovingly say is the verbal gunslinger, where we can toss barbs back and forth at each other, and we can really devolve into a game of words, and words that aren't of the empowering sort, right? And I think that sort of epitomizes what I was seeing this morning that happened over the weekend with the president tweeting crap out to people and other people coming back. There's this verbal gunslinging going on, which tells me that we are not into the elevated part of this gate. So Mars is triggering some of that more negative expression of this energy. And when we elevate this up, we begin to see where maybe some of the problems are. For instance, does this point to an inferiority type of complex within some of the people involved here, namely the president? Where, I don't know, maybe he lived in the shadow of his father and never really was able to come out and claim himself in a healthy way. And so what happens now is when he interprets a slight or something that, is negative on him, he overblows it and becomes this very self-obsessed person and lashes out, right? So he's really showing us the part of ourselves where we are still doing that, right? Where we still feel like we have to defend ourselves out of the fear that we're not good enough. And it all really needs to come back home, home to me, home to you, when you could look in the mirror and say, you're beautiful, you're perfect, you are doing everything you can, you're doing your best. When we can look in the mirror and we can say that, then nothing that anybody else says outside of us can affect us, right? Nothing can affect us, because what we'll see then is, it's a place where I still might have this little fear, false evidence appearing real kind of fear, that I'm not good enough. And I heal that within myself. I don't have to lash out at you. I don't have to try to bring you down to make me feel better. So that's the kind of energy we have going on this week, right? So don't be surprised if you're faced with lots of places where suddenly you don't feel good enough, where you suddenly feel like I need to lash out. Hopefully that's not what happens for you all. You'll remember, whoa, wait a minute. This is about me, and I can work with this energy and I can heal myself here, because I don't need to bring you down to make me feel better. That's a false sense of superiority. That's a false sense of being important, of beingness, right? So let's look at where Venus and Mercury are, because they're still very close together. And since Mercury is moving retrograde, this is an energy that's going to be enacted for a little bit longer. And they're both sitting at what we lovingly call the gate of shock in human design. It's at gate 51. So what's happening right now, let me show you my human design chart here again. Okay, so gate 51 is right here on the will center. And gate 25, where the sun is today, is at gate 25, right here in the identity center. So suddenly this week, this person who doesn't have either one of those defined, suddenly has them defined. So suddenly this week, that channel, which is called the channel of initiation, is activated for everybody. So we're all being initiated into the higher expression of love, universal love. And remember, a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was even last week, God only knows because time is just flying here, we were talking about how we're all in this together, and how when we are invoking, let's say, the energy of love, that we are actually empowering others to do the same. Well, that's what we have this week, right? This under the surface, we have these lower force energies that are playing out. But if we remember who we truly are, then we can go through the gate of initiation. We just had the new moon on Saturday. And so there's a portal ready and open and waiting for us to walk through it. And that is all about invoking the energy of universal love. And it comes sometimes through shock, through a trauma, through a drama. And mostly because sometimes we're a little dense, right? And it takes something more than just, I invite you to walk through this portal to the universal love. Sometimes it has to be more of a hammer. A friend of mine used to say, it's like the house falling on your head. And then, we wake up. So I urge everybody this week, wake up to universal love. And irregardless of what the outer world looks like, make it your mission to demonstrate that love, both to yourself first, and then to everyone around you, just kind of letting it spill out from you. That's the highest potential. Remember, these gates, universal love, ecstasy, beingness, gate 51, the gate of shock, and the low expression, which is also called agitation, is awakening in its highest expression, right? Awakening to the truth of who we really are and who we are really meant to be in relationship with one another. It's really fabulous, I think, albeit a little bit crazy when we're looking at it from the lower energies. Just like last week, though, right? Last week, conflict and chaos. Would you say last week, for my life was a little bit chaotic in a good way, right? I mean, the chaos led to some good things, but out in the outer world, it looked a little bit chaotic. These energies are awakening us. That's the whole point, right? We're wakening up to a new world. We're wakening up to the fact that we have the power to create that new world, that we are creating it at all times. All right, so we talked about Mars now ingressing in astrology speak just means moving out of one sign and into the other. And yeah, Roseanne has a sad face for last week. Last week was a difficult week, definitely. But we got through it, right? We got through it. We're intact. I came out with new babies, with new experiences, with a feeling of just, I don't even know, fulfillment. I guess that's the best word. I feel fulfilled. I feel full. So we came out of it with some good things. So we can come out of this week with some good things too, especially because we're in the know. Because you tune in every morning and you listen to what's happening out there in the world. You are in the know. Good morning, Kathleen. We did get through it. Good morning, Natasha. Good to see you both out there. So a couple other things that I want to talk about. So anyway, let's go back to, I was saying Mars moved into Capricorn. So there's a bit of deliberateness going on in the world for us. When we talk about Capricorn, Capricorn is goal-oriented. It is action step oriented. And so we have this really good energy now for the next few weeks with this planet of action in a sign that also likes action, but likes a plan. So remember a couple weeks ago, we had a lot of Piscean energy, and we were talking about the stellium in Pisces, which was dreamy and psychic and all kinds of imagination, but yet not really feet on the ground. Well, now our feet are landing, boom, firmly on the ground as the energy begins to shift to a stellium in Aries. But Aries sometimes has an impulsiveness around it, right? Where it takes bold action, but sometimes rash action. So Mars sitting in the ruler of Aries, sitting in Capricorn by transit, says that if we keep our boots on, if we keep our boots on the ground, our feet on the ground, that we can really make some grand steps forward. Complicating that a bit this week, though, is Mercury moving retrograde. So it says that maybe we need to shift a little bit and look at the overall, like step back and look back in at the plan and see where there may be some changes that we need to make along the way. But we're doing this out of a sense of deliberateness. And when I say deliberate, for you, what the heck? Excuse me. When I say deliberateness, I'm really meaning if you're following your, good morning, Cassandra, if you're following your type in human design, then what you're doing is you are responding, if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, to what shows up in your outer world. If you're a manifester, you are creating, you're starting something new, you're initiating. If you're a projector, you're leading, you're guiding. And if you're a reflector, which only less than 1% of you are, then you're kind of looking at the community and seeing how you fit into this community. And so the action that you need to take is very much deliberate in the sense that if you're following your type and strategy, you can see that none of those except the manifester are acting on impulse, right? The manifester, in a way, and there's only 8% of the population that are manifestors, are the only type that can really do that. And even that is qualified by what's their authority. If they're emotionally defined, then their authority isn't going to take them into impulsiveness. It's going to be more about what feels good, and that is only after time and consideration. So I urge everybody to kind of fall into the Mars in Capricorn and look at the plan. And where are the holes in the plan? Mercury retrograde is going to show you the holes in the plan, especially if you act first and think later. Then you're going to go, oh, well, I forgot to do this. And so everything fell apart. For instance, I don't remember what day it was last week, but the bridge, the tragedy in Miami where the bridge falls on top of a bunch of cars. It had only been opened for, I don't know, a couple of days. And it had also been put together in a new way, in a very, a much faster way of putting bridges together. And I would dare say if this was a plan that was conceived under a Mercury retrograde, which likely it is, or in the shadow of a Mercury retrograde, then there's a possibility that they skipped something, some step. Something happened in the plan. They didn't see the hole in the plan. And the worst of worst things happens, and that's the whole bridge, the whole infrastructure collapses in on itself. Now, we don't know exactly what it was. I don't think, again, news was just kind of skipping by me all week or all weekend long, but my bet is that there's something in the steps that they missed, right? So don't miss the steps. Take this time, be more deliberate about what it is you're trying to create. Look at your plan, make sure you're doing things according to your type and your strategy. If you don't know what your type and strategy is, hello, you can ask. You can get your own free chart. Go to my website, living-astrology.com, request your chart. If you want to open up a conversation about that, let me know. And if there's enough people interested, I'm very happy to get on air here and just do a class on type, strategy, and authority, which I call, if you've read my ebook, it's 3 keys to unlocking the power of your human design. And just those 3 little things. You master that, it doesn't matter what all these other centers look like or what all those gates and channels look like. If you master your type, your strategy, and your authority, you can certainly find yourself living your life. Kathleen Garvey says, awesome, I'm in. Thank you, Kathleen. Anybody else who's in, let me know. Next step would be let me know what day and time works for people. Maybe I'll do a quick poll out there one day and see. My guess would be maybe a Sunday afternoon after 4 my time, Pacific time maybe. Let me know how y'all feel about that. Because I think it's so important, right? It's so important. If you know how to live your life, then you're less likely to be monkeying in somebody else's, right? Reeling it in, right? Hi, Lila. Good to see you. You're one of the ones whose email I haven't gotten to answer yet, but I did see it this time. It went to the right place. So I will be getting back to everybody today who has reached out to talk to me over the last few days. So your type, your strategy, and your authority mean everything. Suzanne's in, yay. And if you're living from that place, then when these different transits come up that can shake up things, you go, okay, but who am I in this? How am I meant to greet this energy? And so interesting way to live your life through human design. A warning, void of course moon today, 3 p.m. This is East Coast time, 3:29 p.m. to 9:07 p.m. tonight. The moon is void, of course. For most of you, you're winding down your day perhaps, and so it won't have much of an effect. But if you're on the West Coast like me, this happens at 12:29 p.m. to 6:07 p.m. tonight, which means for a good chunk of the afternoon, the moon is void, of course. So get what you need to get done this morning and do that in the next 4 hours and things should be okay. But after that, the moon is on its waning phase of moving through Aries and will be moving into Taurus after that point in time. So here's today's chart. And I think it's an interesting chart because what you see is a lot of planets. Remember, we've been used to seeing, hello, over here. We've been used to seeing this gathering of planets in one place, right, over the last several months. Well, this is now, you'll see them moving out of Pisces and now moving and clustering in Aries. And then we have this other cluster up here now in Capricorn. So Capricorn and Aries, those are the 2 signs where a lot of energy is focused at the moment. So looking at where Aries is in your own personal chart and looking at where Capricorn is in your personal chart are going to help you kind of discern what the best courses of action are going to be for you, although keeping to your type and your strategy as well. So with a lot of energy in Aries, there's a lot of energy for people out there to be impulsive. And to do that, act first, think later. Try to control yourself a bit and not run off the rails with this energy. And then we also have the planets kind of clustered. And, this is sort of shows us, these planets, but over here, Janet, it's so funny because I can't do this in a mirror very well. Right here, you see the planets look like they're all on top of each other, but they're kind of clustered up in pairs. We have Chiron and the sun in a conjunction today in Pisces, 28 degrees of Pisces. Next month, Chiron moves out of Pisces and joins the party in Aries. So the character of our wound is shifting, right? We're in the last vestiges of healing the victim energy wound with Chiron and the sun today in Pisces. Don't be the victim. Don't be the martyr, right? You don't, unless of course your human design is the martyr, which is a totally different story. We don't have to get involved in being the victim, right? I'm never the victim. I always have a choice in how it is I want to proceed in my life. So we have those two left in Pisces, sort of along with Neptune, but they are helping us heal the final bit of that wound in Pisces. And it won't be back to Pisces again. The sun will in a year, but Chiron won't be there for another 50 years. A good chunk of us won't be walking the planet then. So this is your final real big opportunity to go, I'm done with being a victim, right? I'm done with being a victim, because 50 years from now, I know I probably am not going to be dealing with victim energy anymore. I won't be here. So let it all go. The rest of the planets that are clustered, Venus, of course, and Mercury clustered at 15 and 16 degrees of Aries. And we talked a lot about what that's taking us to with the Venus-Mercury conjunction at gate 51. It's awakening us, right? Wake up, right? See, you know, oh, this is a perfect metaphor. You know, when you put your clothes in the washing machine, right? They don't just sit in the water, right? They get agitated. You have this thing called an agitator, and it's, you know, rocking things around, kind of, you know, causing the dirt to let go of the fabric, let's say. So along with water, it's creating a change in the fabric and letting go of the dirt. So agitation, the lower expression of this energy at gate 51 of shock, is still doing its job, right? We need that agitation in order to awaken. So even though this energy isn't always very comfortable, agitation has a purpose, and that is in awakening us, right? Wake up. And yeah, I've had enough of Chiron and Pisces too. And so we are moving beyond that. But then a whole new set of wounding appears with Chiron when it moves into Aries, taking us into how self-sufficient are you? How self-accepting are you? Are you independent but afraid to reach out and get help when you need it? Or are you remaining too dependent upon everybody else and not taking and reaching out for independence? So, you know, we leave one wound for another wound, but at the same point in time, I will be very happy to let Chiron and Pisces go out of my life. So then the last conjunction or cluster of planets today is the goddess Eris. She's an asteroid dwarf planet, I guess is what we really characterize her as now. And she is conjunct the moon, and the moon is in the midst between her and Uranus. So we have the three planets that really say now's the time for awakening. Eris and Uranus have been conjunct several times over the last couple of years. And every time, she's the goddess of discord, right? She threw the golden apple out at the wedding reception, which created, initially, led to anyway, the Trojan War. And we all know how that turned out, right? It was a bad thing, right? So she creates discord, but when she's traveling with her companion Uranus, the discord has a moment, it has a pulse to it, and that pulse is about awakening. It is about rebellion, right? I would say, I could kind of characterize the politics in our country, at least right now, as open warfare, open rebellion, right? There's this thing going on, and it's all right and perfect. It's in Aries, so it's leading us to something new. We may not know exactly what that is yet, because sometimes, you know, the future is blind because it's not here yet. So if we live in the now and we keep, you know, again, reeling it in, I can't say that enough, reeling it in. What does this mean for me? What's my role in all of this? Then how can I use this energy in a positive way? How can I take this awakening that I'm feeling, that I'm seeing, or take this challenge that I'm experiencing it as, and wake up to something new, to something different? So the moon, of course, will move out of that conjunction within the next couple of hours. So you have your moment now, grab it and run with it. Now, Eris and Uranus are still within 3 degrees of one another, so we still have this awakening going on. interesting stuff because, you know, almost every day, doesn't it feel sort of breathless, the number of things that happen sometimes? Kathleen, we're creating it now with what we focus on. Perfectly said. I couldn't say it better. So what is it that you're focusing on, right? Focus on love. That's a great thing this week to focus on. Focus on yourself, self-love, not the kind of self-obsessive sort of narcissistic way our president focuses on himself, but the way that we can focus on ourselves that really grows the truth of who we are so that we can be our best self. And so we can take that best self out into the world and create change. And I think that is all. No, it's not all. Luckily, I remembered. So what did I do with it? I have an oracle card that I pulled for us for the week. And it's one we've not had before. And I'm not sure how I felt about it because to me, it says, come to the edge. And of course, I look at that. I just watched this show on TV last night where this woman falls down the edge of a cliff and breaks her pelvis and she's stuck in the Moab desert for like 3 days. And I'm like, ooh, going to the edge is sometimes a little bit scary because you can fall down and break your pelvis, right? But here's the card. This is what it looks like. And it's called Come to the Edge. And I pulled it upside down. So that tells us it's in protection mode. By the way, for those of you who might be new or haven't heard, we use the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reed. These cards are absolutely gorgeous. And I love their messages. And they always seem to be timely. So yay, though, this card gave me quivers at first when I pulled it. Once I read it, I realized, okay, this is a really good message. And so here's what it is. Let me turn this way so you could just see it too. It's a little fairy and she's dancing on the edge of a precipice, right? So, but she's throwing out, it looks like little hearts. They're little heart, like maybe flower petals. Let me see if I'm bringing it in a little bit. So let's see what this card's all about then. So the general meaning of the card is, oh, good, I'm glad you bought it, Roseanne, is courage, taking a leap of faith and overcoming fear and accepting risk. In protection mode, which means it was upside down, fear is leading the way into places you don't need to go. Most of what you fear at the moment is an illusion stemming from an old belief that isn't even true. Love it. Now is a time for courage. You will not be lost at sea. You will not watch everyone else get what you want while you are left alone and unloved. Oh, the drama of it all. Oh, the drama. False evidence appearing real. Fear, the acronym for fear, is hovering over you. The more you dwell on fear, the more real it will become. Ask yourself, who in me is afraid? Love that part of you. Ask, is this true and real right now? The answer most likely is no. Give yourself a hug. It's okay to be scared. Courage must be summoned. In spite of your fear, even when you're not feeling confident, spirit will always catch you. I think that's a great message for us on a day when, or on a Monday of a week that looks to be a bit chaotic. Maybe not chaotic, but a bit crazy maybe. All the weeks have been a little crazy lately, but I think we are able to fly above it. As Suzanne says here, I'm going to show some comments. Suzanne says, come to the edge and fly. It reminds me of that song, and I cannot remember who sang it, but I believe I can fly. I love that song. Roseanne says she's bought the deck. Lila, how perfect for the week when the sun moves from Pisces to Aries. Absolutely. That'll happen on, I think it happens tomorrow late in the day because tomorrow's actually the first day of spring. Woohoo! Although we're back to clouds today, but we had some beautiful weather over the weekend. Let's see who else has something to say here. Kathleen Garvey says we're creating it now with what we focus on. I think I did say that. So we have some really, really fun things going on. People are enjoying this. Keeping my focus. Oh, good one. Kathleen says, keeping my focus on me. I greet the energy even of the void of course moon and will be engaging in fun. Love it, love it. So there we go. We have high sides to everything that's happening, right? Good morning, Paige. The name of the website, living-astrology.com. And up at the top, it'll say my name, Janet Hickox, and then Living Astrology. By the way, you can also get a free natal chart. If you've never seen your natal chart and you just want to have a copy of it, you can get that there as well. And also, there is the free human design chart, which I think is very important as I'm talking more and more with you all about human design. And I learned something else yesterday, which was, you know how I love the gene keys. The gene keys meaning the large, thick book that Richard Rudd wrote. And he is part of a study called Integral Human Design, which I'd never heard of. And so yesterday I started, I don't even know how that came to me yesterday. I have no clue. Somehow it ended up, how did I get to that? I don't know. Somehow I ended up with this thing called Integral Human Design. And I started looking at it, and it was fascinating. It's based on something called spiral dynamics, which is a philosophy of how it is we are moving through our evolution. It's really indicative of the spiral of growth and evolution as opposed to any kind of straight line evolution that we may think that we're involved in. And so it's, I don't know, it caught my interest yesterday. So be, on the lookout. I may be coming up with more information about that. What I liked about it is that it seemed like he talked about different streams of consciousness within the human design template. And that part really fascinates me because there's different streams and everybody's energy is caught up in a stream. And it really is sort of the undercurrent that's going on in your life. I've never heard of that in any of my other studies. And so I want to look into that more and be able to integrate some of that into the work I do with each one of you, but also when I'm talking about the different energies that are going on today. So interesting things always happening and more information coming. So in the meantime, I hope every one of you looks deeply into that mirror and validates how much you love yourself, because only from that place can you love others and can we bring peace to this world. I love you all. Thank you all for joining me. And I hope you'll tolerate and be tolerant of baby pictures as I post them, because I just can't get enough of his little chubby cheeks. In the meantime, have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow morning right here in the Meta Cafe at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Bye, everybody. Take care.